You are seated on a gem, capital G, capital E, capital M. This is called Global Electric Motors. And these vehicles are usually used for shuttling at Disney World and golf courses and that sort of thing. Now they are marketing these things as the transportation of the future. That in all their advertising, they have moms with all their kids here going to, but that is not what this is for. So I don't ever see this as changing the way I'm not going out on big freeways with this thing, I'll tell you. Oh, and the speedometer says we can go 60. But today we're probably going to get up to a whopping 15 miles an hour, so don't get real alarmed here. So here we are, and what is this white thing with the circle around it? John, what might that be? It is a button.
Okay. I see it.
Why would that be a button in front of our library? Because Gwinnett County is named after Button Gwinnett.
Oh.
We were formed in 1818, and in 2018 we celebrated our 200th year anniversary, and we put 200 buttons around the county in commemoration of this big event. Button Gwinnett was one of the three signers from the state of Georgia who signed the Declaration of Independence. His is the third signature, so he's like a rock star around here. We have 3 counties that are named after these 3 signers of the Declaration. That's Button Gwinnett, Lyman Hall, and Mr. George Walton. So here we are at 951 feet above sea level. If you look to your left, you'll see the City Hall and Library complex that we built together. This is the highest point in Lilburn. We never build it to be the highest point, but it's just kind of interesting that you put City Hall that looks over everything. On the right side is City Hall, on the left side is the library. We distinctively said we're responsible for land, so why should we build 2 parking lots this size? Why should we put 2 massive air conditioners? Why would we put a huge lobby and all that? So let's just put them together. So we signed a 50-year lease to get married to the Gwinnett County Library System, which we did. It's going well. There seems to be no divorce in line, so it's going very well. Now, if you be honest, you say all the laws, we don't have laws here, we just have ordinances. All the ordinances are made at City Hall, but that is not true. The real City Hall of Lilburn is right over here to your right. It's called Chick-fil-A. So everything that happens in Lilburn always begins at Chick-fil-A. All the relationships are built right there. So if you ever want anything done, go to Chick-fil-A, meet somebody from there, and come back. It'll be a law the next day. This is Highway 29, 5,500 cars, 55,000 vehicles go through our city every day that are not us. And so our goal is to be the safest city in the state of Georgia. We've got up to the top 25. Our police department is right there on the right on Highway 29, so we can canvass this whole thing. But anything that happens here that's crime related is because this highway goes right through our city, and it brings other people in here to do damage and head on out. So
how many vehicles a day you mentioned?
55,000 that are not us, just people passing through. Now, if we get on Highway 29 and go 3 miles straight ahead toward Tucker, on the right side of the road is the Mandir. It's the Hindu Mandir. It's the #1 tourist attraction in Gwinnett County. It is in Lilburn. It brings 1 million people to Lilburn every year.
Wow.
The Mandir it's the largest Indian Hindu temple outside of India. It was completely crafted out of all these incredible stones and assembled here. There's not a bolt, there's not any kind of nails. It is just falling in on itself. And I implore you, John, before you go back to New York City, you gotta come and see the temple. Make sure that you have no holes in your socks when you go, because at the door you will be invited to take off your shoes. You can't wear shoes there, and you can't wear shorts. So just put on a pair of jeans and head on out. And have you been there, Bill? Yeah, take him over there. You haven't taken him there yet?
Not yet.
It's an amazing, amazing structure. You don't have to believe what everything's going on, but it is an amazing thing to see. So here we are in our fair little city of Lilburn. We have 68,000 people who claim Lilburn as their home. That is because they share the same zip code, 30047. But out of those 68,000 people, only 16,000 are in the city limits. Everybody says, I'm in the city of Lilburn, I've got a 3. No, you're not, honey. You are outside. We have only a 6-mile circumference here. We have 34 sworn officers that are patrolling and making this the safest city in the state of Georgia. And by golly, we've lowered crime by 40%. It's just been a wonderful deal to see all that has happened here in Lilburn. Now, don't get alarmed. This is a street that is supposed to be 40 miles an hour, but we're going to go 1 block. And I'm not going to have anything to do. Oh, it's all clear already. Look at this. We are street legal. We're allowed to be out here. It's just I don't like it to be out here. But when we get out on the freeway, when we go toward Atlanta and we're on the I-85 traffic with those big semis, then you want to put your seatbelt on. But other than that, okay, now we're home. We're home free. So the city of Lilburn all occurred because of a lottery. After the Revolutionary War, the state of Georgia said, we really want to develop this place. They were in effect, they ran off the Indians, and now the state government said, let's have a lottery. We're going to give land away. In fact, we're going to give 250 acres to anybody who qualifies. The way you qualify to win the lottery and get one of these acres, they divided 125 units of 250 acres per winner. You had to be a Revolutionary War veteran. So all these vets lined up, they put 125 names in a barrel, and they had 250 lots. And this young guy won the lottery and established this little town. But along came a guy named William McDaniel, and William said to this young soldier, I'd like to buy your land, bro. Which he did, only too readily. And William McDaniel, never having been here, came out to this area, and he camped right along the creek. And so now the creek is called Camp Creek. The street that goes over Camp Creek is called Camp Creek, just because he came out here to see his fortune, and he just happened to set up camp one night. It made such a big impression that they call this now Camp Creek. So here we are in what we consider the place where the larger, more estate homes are going to be built, and this is all subject to gentrification. All these houses, look at this. This is just a little ranch house built in the 50s or something like that. And that little house becomes a house like this. It just, you just take these little old things, you kind of doze them, or this one was just added on to. This one on the right coming up here, I own that, and I just sold it. Well, I'm selling it this afternoon. We're signing our papers. He's totally dozing it. And I saw the renderings of what he's going to build here, and it's like, ooh la walla, woohoo. So this is going to be $1 million home that'll be sitting right here. So this whole street, this is called Poplar, and it's peppered with larger homes. Every one of them is on an acre or more, and you just don't make land like this anymore. So we kind of enjoy the benefit of seeing gentrification come our way. Now on the right, we're going to have our first introduction to an older home. This is a turn-of-the-century home. The Calhouns have rescued this house here on the right. It's a white house, really. It's just made of pine. Everything's made of pine, and they put bricks on the front to make it more stately. But it's just an old pine white house. And they all have the same characteristics. We're going to see that in just a moment. The largest home in the city of Lilburn. I will not interrupt them, but if you sneak a peek off to the right, down in the hole, you'll see the roof line of what we call the Savannah Fish House. It has a 3-car garage, a full gymnasium, a porch that wraps around the front. Well, I'll just get a little peek of it. We won't go invade anybody's personal property. But look at this thing. It's got a 3-car garage. The gym is behind this garage. The front porch is just like a Savannah fish house. It just wraps the whole way around the 5-bedroom. It sold about 6 years ago for $1.3 million. So I suspect right now that is a $2 million home, and nobody can see it. But now you know, and if there's any kind of robbery or anything, I know that some guy from New York came down here, got a good look at money and said, hey, I want some of that. But oops, let's get out of this guy's way. Let's try it out. So a lot of these homes on this street of Poplar will likely be pulled down as our city continues to grow. Now, one of the things we found out is there are nobody's bringing us more land. You just get what you got. So we've got to use our land carefully here to be able to maximize the amount of space that we have and the amount of people that want to be here. We have 1 million people as of last summer, May of 2023. Gwinnett County topped 1 million people. And the question becomes, where do they go? Because we can't stop people from coming here. It's such a desirable place to live. Everybody wants to live in the South. The whole country is moving south. And we have to accommodate them well. Now here on the right is a wonderful example of the house that was a little cabin. Brad and Joanne pulled it down and built a beautiful replica of a early Georgian home that totally fits in the confines of our city. Yeah, on an acre of land, everybody gets it. Here's another acre. This house is a little pine house. You see the green pine slatboard, but back in the 60s, somebody wanted to show their wealth and they put stones on the front to make it look like a stone house, but the stones just flop right up against the wood. Didn't even take the wood off. Here we have another example. This house just sold for $1 million. This was an old yucky house that they just pulled down and built this with a mother-in-law suite on the back. Here's an example here on the right of another 1915 or 1940s house, somewhere in their 40s or 50s. And then this one, the next right hand, this one was just a little shed as well, and completely redone to make it a livable house. Then here we have a Serenby house. This is an exact replica of what happens down in Serenby, which is that gated, wonderful turn-of-the-century community that's a planned community, and that's Tom Mills. And notice he put his house back. This is his whole acre here. He moved the house back so he could put commercial right out here in the front. Very wise of him. We'll probably have ice cream, maybe a little boutique. We're building over here. You can see this sign. We have 3 acres here. We're putting a bunch of townhomes there and some commercial, so we'll be able to walk this house. So now we get down into the magic of our city. This is what makes Lilburn, Lilburn. This is Main Street. There are 16 cities in Gwinnett County. Every city, the common denominator is we're all railroad cities. You got to remember, we have no lakes, we have no streams, we have no mountains, we don't have anything. In the late 1800s, the railroad came through, and we are no different than anybody, because that was our freeway of the day. In order to sell your cotton or any produce that you had to get it out of your little town. These were all cotton farmers around here, and this was a very poor town. Mr. McDaniel, after he bought it from the the guy from the Revolutionary War veteran, he named the town McDaniel, Georgia. Well, that was fine. Everybody could care less because they didn't have anything. But in about 1910, for which this restaurant, which is our standard bearer of our city, in 1910, these little farmers said, well, let's make a city out of it. Let's charter. Let's become a real city in Georgia, which they did. Where that stop sign is, that is Railroad Avenue. Railroad goes east and west. Hey, girl. The railroad track was right there in 1894, and in 1942, they moved it back about 1,000 yards so that the railroad train didn't come right downtown. Now, the only thing that's different about the city of Lilburn versus all the other 16 cities is our railroad runs perpendicular rather than parallel. Because you know that saying, you live on the wrong side of the tracks. Right, well, you can't live on the wrong side of the tracks here because we can have parades down Main Street, we can have parties on Main Street, and the rumble of the train is in the back. So we are so grateful that we are not separated by a train track. But the track was right there, where that stop sign is. And in 1910, when we decided that we really wanted to charter to become a city, Mr. McDaniel was out of the way. And from Alexandria, Virginia, this is called the Seaboard Airline. I don't know why they call it airline. Seaboard Airline Railway. And the chief stock owner said to his son, get on the train, go down to Georgia, give me a report of how we're doing down there. So this guy jumps on the train, comes down here. The train stops right there where that flower pot sits on that hill. He gets out of the train. People have never seen a guy like this. These are all cotton farmers. This guy was well-to-do from near Washington, D.C. He gets out of the train. People fall in love with him, and they say, let's create a town. Well, what do you want to call it? Well, let's name it. We like that guy. What was his name? Lilburn Trigg Myers. So we are named after a railroad conductor. And it's interesting, we're his first name, not his last name. Well, here we have a 1914 house. This has become a music venue. You can see a guy right there learning guitar. He's being taught. And in this room, they're having another music lesson. This is all for kids. This week is band camp. So they bring all these kids in here, and they're going to do a concert, a big concert on Saturday night. Here they are, all assembled in the backyard. And they're probably getting ready to go on stage. I don't know what that big canvas thing is over the stage, but every Saturday night, all summer, there's a welcome home. Congratulations, that's the owner's daughter. So there'll be a concert in there Saturday night, and the kids will be performing this week, and it's a pretty cool deal. They're really gonna like it. So here we are in the heart of our historic downtown, and you're going to say, where is it? Well, we have 4 buildings. This brick building here on the right. We only have 4 units. If you go just across the freeway, we have Norcross. They have 28 historic buildings. So we don't have anything that is really, because we had a big fire here and it all burned down. So our job now is to replicate it, to create what we think would be on the other side. All of this happened with this on November the 15th of 1920. A fire broke out in this building right down the street that's now a hair salon. So here are the 3 units that are of noteworthy, are worthy for us. Here we had the general store. It was made by a man named Dr. Kelly. He had his office on the top. The bottom was a barber shop and a general store. This was the post office, and the 3rd building was the bank. Now everybody does the same kind of thing, and that is you want to cook the books when you don't like what's going on. So they wanted to shred some documents, but without a shredder, they did the next best thing. They lit them on fire. Well, the fire got out of control, as fires usually do. And over here on the other side of Mulford's, there's a guy standing down here on November 15th. He said, there's a fire. Well, you got to think, where's the fire trucks? Well, trucks weren't even invented at that point. So we had down here by the pavilion we had an underground spring. They quickly hoisted 2 guys down in the well, and they started a bucket brigade to put the fire out. So it was person to person to person to person to person. So every now and then we reenact that bucket brigade event that actually saved the city. But it was almost too late. The only things that survived were these buildings right here on the right. And there's only 3 of them. And these are all, this one was built in 1910. And if you notice here on the side, right where this hose is connected to the side of it, you see all those bricks on the side that have the indentations? That's where the gentlemen of the city, the farmers, would sharpen their knives. They would just stand here and whittle away to get their knives sharp so they could go about their work in the cotton gin. Well, after that big fire, Lilburn has had enough. We had the boll weevil that came in, and the boll weevil destroyed all the cotton. Then we had the fire that destroyed the, and then we had in 1929 the Great Depression. That was it. Lilburn went out of existence. If you can imagine the trees that, the marking of a tree, the rings tell a story. Well, our story is that in 1929, Lilburn ceased to exist, just ran out of business. There was such poverty here with the breaking of our financial structure and our economy. Lilburn just threw up their hands until 1954, when the state of Georgia said, we're going to make a major freeway or a major road. We call it Highway 29. It came through this area, and all these residents said, there's too much traffic here. Have you ever heard that before? Nobody has ever said that. And so they reconstituted in 1954, and Lilburn became a city the second time. Out of our own ashes, we began to grow. This was the original cotton gin right here on the right. It became builder's steel. And now with the whole idea of renovation, this whole boulevard, we're now on Railroad Avenue, and if you look behind you and you look at it, it's straight as an arrow because that's the way railroad runs. Here's one of the original founders of the city of Lilburn. Do what?
Now serving drinks today?
Not today, but I'll bring some if we find them.
How about for your riders?
We'll take it. Should I come in there and get them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this building is either going to be torn down or it's going to be totally renovated. That's a family entertainment center. It's called Pins, and that's a pretty popular idea where a bowling alley has pins, and basically with a distillery and a beer in your hand, you bowl and you have fun, and then there's a restaurant in there, then there's a dog park will be attached to it. It's a pretty popular concept, so this will be totally renovated. Then all these buildings you see here all go away, and here's what we're building. This is a 6-story parking garage that'll connect right over to the back, approximately where that building is. Then our new 270-room apartment complex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories. We'll start right where this blue building is, and this is just one half of the building. The other half will be hidden behind it. So Lilburn is going to be wide awake. This all begins January 1 in next year, so we're in the last 6 months of counting down till this thing radically transforms. Everybody wants restaurants here, and the way to have restaurants is to have people here, and so we're going to have 270 new room guests, and most of them are 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, so there's only 35 3-bedroom apartments, and they will attract families, but most of them will be singles, and maybe a single mom with a child or something like that. This is the trail, our Greenway Trail, where this ugly fence is. All of that comes down. The apartments will be fronting on the Greenway Trail, and right here where this big truck is going to be our famous dog park. They're going to donate to the city a park, and they said, Mayor, what do you want in the park? Do you want statues of Lilburn Trigg Myers? What do you want there? And I said, I want a dog park. And they said, well, are you able to maintain a dog park? And I said, what do you mean? How hard could that be? You get a lawnmower in there, you mow it, and you fix the fence. And they said, oh, no, you don't have it. Our dog parks that we build are on AstroTurf with an underground filtration system so that every day the AstroTurf is cleansed, cleaned, smelling good for your dog to enjoy this thing. So we're going to have 270 dogs or more that are going to come and enjoy that dog park. And then all the when the Bill gets about 6 or 7 dogs, he'll just walk right up the street, go to the dog park, and everybody's going to be fine and dandy and brand new. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Lilburn. Do what now? You want a picture? Famous people. Here we got John from New York. Okay, here we are.
All right.
Are you guys going to go on a tour with us?
I think we can walk it. You want the picture made?
Okay, bye. So we have this building was built in 1910. Then we had the fire, and it burned. And this one burned as well. This was built in 1920. And you can see the demarcation line. There's marks on the back of where the fire actually occurred. But you think, wait a minute, the building burned, but it's still erect. And like, well, how could that happen? Well, these are all wooden inside. The bricks remain, so they just rebuild the inside of the building to make it commensurate with what it should look like on the outside. This, we think, is going to be a great steak restaurant at some point. Woo-hoo. So here we are again. This, you see how straight Railroad Avenue, just so straight and narrow. And then they, in 1940s, they put it out here, I guess to alleviate some noise in the little downtown that wasn't bustling, but it was. And this is called the Bubbly Goat, and I think goat means greatest of all time. So I think it's going to be the greatest of all time. Bubbly, they put this is brand new. It's going to be beer, wine, cheese, and a fun place. I think this will be a great gathering spot. So here we are at the beginning of our trailhead of our #1 amenity in the city of Lilburn. This is what makes Lilburn Lilburn. We were voted the top 25 places to retire. I said, retire? Wait a minute, we want people with kids like Naval and Islam, or Aisha, to come and bring kids. But retirees love this trail. Look at it. As soon as you walk through this gate, you start walking down, you have no idea where you are. It's just so peaceful and so woody. It goes 1 3/4 miles out to Rockbridge, and then there's a park out there you can circle in for. Then we go back this way 1 mile plus. It costs $1 million per mile to build a greenway trail. And you say, why in the world? Well, because you have to secure the right-of-way from the owners that we want 20 feet of their backyard. We have to secure the rights of little animals and bees and inhabitants that the EPA says, you can't destroy those. And I'm like, well, then take them home with you. But nevertheless, we have to. Then we have the railroad train right there. We have to accommodate their setbacks. And so this is a very costly adventure. We have 6.4 miles of greenway trail that makes this city just shine. Everybody's on. Now, you can take anything out there you want. You can walk, you can roller skate, you can walk on your head. The only thing you can't take on our greenway trail, and this is specifically prohibited by our laws, and that is you cannot have a horse on the greenway. Now, I've never seen a horse in Lilburn, but there used to be a horse farm right across the street here when it was being built, so everybody just got very excited. What if they bring their horses over here? So we wrote the horse into the amendment, and I think it's stupid because it just is irrelevant, but don't bring your horses from New York to. And now we cross the tracks. Now we're on the other side of the tracks. And here we have an interesting experiment. This was called the Lilburn Community Garden. We thought people wanted to garden. This is in their 10th year of existence right now. It's very overgrown because it's all volunteer run. We're really shaking this up. We're going to do a whole new thing for these people. This is where people rent a plot. You come and you stick your spade in the ground and you start growing stuff. And we thought this is going to be a place where people actually grow vegetables and stuff, but that's not what happens here. What really happens is people come to meet other people of like-mindedness. So this is a social event gathering space. This is like a dog park where you go and you meet people. And so all these gardeners did hang around with their cool gloves and all that sort of thing. Now we have a little problem here. You see the netting around every plot, and it's because of this first line up here. It says, please don't pick anything at the garden. These plots are rented by individuals for their own garden use. But here's what we've found. The deer that come out of this woods can't read that small type. So we have to get the sign made bigger so that the deer who are eating carrots and all that sort of thing, and their eyes should get better, and they will then obey that sign. We can take all that netting down, and that'll solve our problem here in downtown. Now here's Camp Creek. There it goes. Right underneath, it flows right down through the city of Lilburn, through our city park system. And we'll never forget the day when we became a city, when Mr. William McDaniel showed up, and now we're crossing the CSX Railway. And we come into the heart of what makes Lilburn just such a popular spot. We have a 10-acre park, the largest city park in Gwinnett County. Now, about 10 years ago, this guy came to me and he said, hey, I want to bring a double-decker bus. He went to York, England, purchased this bus for $14,000.
England, yeah, wow,
yeah, you can see. Where do you see that English stuff?
No, I'm saying the double-decker.
Oh, the double-decker. Yeah, very clearly English. I think there is even some graphics on the front that says that it's from England. At any rate, he brought the bus here and set it up and said, we want to, I guess, Emily Jane was the original name of this thing. That's interesting. But in fact, the bus driver's still in it. He just sits there 24/7. Oh, you can see the English license plate on the front. So he brought this thing over, $28,000, set the bus here. We supplied water, grease trap, and electric to it. And he opened a pretty high-end sandwich and salad shop. And it was open for a grand total of 6 weeks. And he went out of business. And we purchased it from him, and we said, what is going on? He said, I made a vow that I would never sell beer and wine in my restaurant. And he just couldn't make it. Agavera came in, their #1 sales item, margaritas. So everybody wants to be at the park and get a little drink. So it's wildly popular right now. We have all kinds of social events in front of it. So that's a mainstay in the city park. Here we have a pavilion, and the pavilion has we have one muralist in our city. He's a nationally known artist. His name is Sonny Franks, and he put this mural in here, and it says, the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find your why you were born. So we have a QR code. It's going to be installed this week. So you go up and you take a picture and you send to the city your why, and then we're going to interact with all these people who are telling their story. It should be a fun thing. Now Sonny, and now this is our splash pad. This is just recently completed about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Very popular. In fact, the #1 most visited site in the city of Lilburn is, when is the splash pad open? What are the hours? When are you having special events? They're wildly popular, and we don't have to have a lifeguard. You just go splash around. It's kind of fun. So Sonny, and he does all the in front of Music on Main, that building right over there that we looked at, it's now the school. He has Ricky Garcia's a replica of his guitar. Here we have Lilburn Tunnel Bridge. It does not exist, but this was just, if you consider the side of the building, that's what this side looked like. And Sonny came to us and said, hey, I can make that really shine. This becomes the #1 spot for people to do photos, for engagements, for high school graduations, for all kinds of family reunions. So we put the relief of the stones so people interact with this, and that's what Sonny wants you to see. He even has Wile E. Coyote on the back appearing, and he just came and put that after, that little afterthought. So then the city of Lilburn had to wake up after 100 years of being asleep. We attracted on 4 acres here. We have 55 townhomes that are supposed to replicate a turn-of-the-century kind of feel, with the columns like Charleston, and some of our most well-known residence is a guy right here and his wife on the corner. This is Nabil and Aisha. They're internationally known artists and painters, and they do signings every day about 6 o'clock in the evening. Lots of people gather on the green here. So glad they're here. Here's another one of Sonny's murals. This was inspired by Rosalind Carter. John, if you'll get out, Nabil will take your picture. So if you'll get out, we'll show you how to interact with this mural. Now, murals are not just to be seen, but they're to be explored. And put your book down so that you can fully engage in this. So your camera is going to see something very different from what we see with our eyes. So John, if you'll walk over to the mural.
Just press the camera.
There you go. Okay, here's what you do. You step up onto this platform. Face that direction. Put your fingers top down. Take your right foot in your right hand and push it back. Now move away from the butterfly is taking a step back.
Oh,
the
right,
butterfly
right.
is pulling you through the window. You're just holding. Put the right hand backwards. There you go. Now look at us and go. Ah! You're not even holding on, but that's the idea. Okay, you got it. There you go. The butterfly window. Yeah, all murals have a story behind them. This is inspired by Rosalind Carter. You can see her little QR code there on the side where she is a big butterfly person. We tried to get her up here for the dedication, but she's a little older now. Cannot make the trip from Plains. So here we are in our 10-acre park, largest in the county. And on the other side, we just purchased 22 more acres. So we're going to have a 32-acre park. This is called Festival Field. This is the most visited 4th of July celebration in the county. We even topped Stone Mountain because we can accommodate about 6,000 people in the field, but we shoot our fireworks from right behind these trees. So you're really engulfed in it. People will sit on the Bill's yard there. They'll bring their chairs. They'll sit on the streets, and everybody's going to enjoy the major fireworks along with the concert we do on this little stage. This is all set for a major renovation. But nevertheless, people come and we allow drinking in the park during those events. In fact, we have a hospitality zone, so you can get a cup of or a glass of something and come down to the city park holding that cup in your hand. Now here we have what we call the two grand old ladies of the city of Lilburn. These are homes that were built in the late 1800s. This is 1892. Now you can see that where this white truck is sitting, this was the railroad track. That little white building right behind this house was where they had their produce. So the train would stop right here. People, the farmers, locals would put their stuff on the train and it would head to the city of Atlanta. This was the farmer, this was this guy's field. So he had his cows, and think of the majesty of this big home right here on the corner. And this then became, after it's got chopped up, this became the city dump. So the city dump was donated by a guy named Gartrell Nash. His name's on that pavilion down there. He donated the dump to the city of Lilburn. We extracted all the tires, the concrete. It was not a dump for food and stuff. It was a dump for construction debris. We removed all that stuff and made the most significant park in the city of Lilburn. So here we have an example of how these people lived back then. Notice the porch, how high it is. The porch ceilings were always blue, so that you would come out of these hot houses in the summer and you would be able to sit on your front porch. This is when people sat on their front porch rather than on the rear deck. And so people would sit and watch the train go by. People in the city would gather, and they always wanted to know that they were outside with a blue sky. But all these houses have 12-foot ceilings. That's because we had no air conditioning. Hot air rises, and you can move around in these houses, and so that you can actually survive. So these are twin sisters. This is 1892. This is 1895. But both of them are painted white. These old houses had to be white. And we put in Xeon Zoysia, both houses. So these are like, and we have a hole in the fence there. So we do weddings in this house and receptions. You see the party lights there in the back, and do receptions over there. So here we had 55 townhomes that are brand new, about 5 years old, something like that. And this is sort of the new Lilburn that's to come. Now watch what happens. This house is built in 1960. Now remember I said that our town went out of existence till 1954 when Highway 29 was coming through and people wanted to deal with the traffic. So nothing happened. Those two big old houses, 1892, 1895, this is just right after about 1950, 1925. Now look at this. This is what happened to Lilburn. This is a 1960, a ranch house. 1960, a ranch. 1960, 1960, 1960. Everything happened when Highway 29 came in. The city died. Nothing happened, not a house. This is in the, that's before the wreck of Lilburn. What are we doing here? And then when you get down Main Street, we have all the same. All these houses are built after when Lilburn was trying to come back as a result. This is about a late 40s, almost 50s. Then we have this gentrification coming on, taking down a house and putting two. This is a father and parents and his kids live next door. And then we have all this Lilburn, every street here, every one of them are just ranch houses, a half acre and a ranch, just like this one on the corner. Half acre ranch house, 1960. Nothing happened in our fair city until now it's being awakened again. Here's a you have to be 55 years and older. Oh, that's them. 55 and older subdivision. This is a beautiful example of architecture that we want in the city. This was going to be all leased. This caused a huge commotion in the city of Lilburn. This was going to be townhomes. COVID hit and these two exchanged. These are now totally purchased and those are all leased and they're 100% occupied. In this one, these are now in the low floors. That's not true anymore. These things go way more than this. But this is a lovely, check out this, their community house. Look at this. Is that Charleston or is that Williamsburg? Or it's just their little, all their mailboxes are in there in their little clubhouse. And this street looks like it's right out of a movie set. It just has such a charm to it. Now, they do allow married couples under 55 to move in here. But you notice there are no bicycles in here. There are no anythings that are going to have kids in mind. So you can be married under 55 and live in here now, but with one caveat. Every Saturday morning you have to come to the clubhouse and do a pregnancy test. If you're found pregnant, they boot you. Now, I don't know how that works, but you can't be there might be a car coming in here, so we'll kind of scoot around. So here now we're on the back side of the City Hall, and you notice we have a little amphitheater here for kids to come out and have shows or have a guitar, have readings in the library. We tried to make this building look like it was turn of the century schoolhouse. So we put a little clock up at the top. We made some windows and some bricks that looked like it was added on, that it wasn't really all one building. Trying to get out of that really modern stuff, flip us back, and we tried to have all this reflect. Right down here in the corner, we have two restaurants coming. We have an idea, we call it 10 by 10. We want a 10-minute walk to have 10 restaurants. So it takes about 10 minutes to go from that traffic light down to the railroad tracks, and so our plan is to have 10 wonderful restaurants. And we are on the way. We have about 4 right now that are in the queue. And we are back at City Hall. Oops, and we missed Aisha and the kids. I don't know where they are. But thus ends our introduction to our fair city. There's our new police van I've never seen before. Yeah, thanks, John. You're very kind for being a part of this adventure called the City of Lilburn.
How have the folks who've been here like forever, since forever, how are they like handling the?
Some of them not well.
Yeah,
I want it like it was when I was a kid here. But our goal is to make all the homes so the kids come back. They go off to college, but they say,
Right.
oh, I was so in love with this place, I want to come back. But we have the prices going pretty strong. It's hard for kids, unless they get their parents home. So, but that's the desire. That's what everybody wants to do. It's what we want to do.